Hello everyone, welcome back. In the last episode, we got to know the introduction about serotonin and also we got to know about the historical aspect and the synthesis. So what's in store for all of us today? It's no time to keep the secret. Let me reveal the whole thing. Today we're going to study all about the serotonin receptors, its reuptake, and all about the transporter that helps in the reuptake. But more than that is all about the serotonin receptors. There are so many receptors and serotonin belongs to one of the largest neurotransmitter family. So without any delay, let's get started. Welcome all to IS Pharmacology Difficult Podcast. I'm your host Dr. Radhika Vijay, MBBS MD Pharmacology, and this is the audio hub to get the best simplified basic tips, strategies, methods, and lots of ideas to learn better, understand better, and make your concepts crystal clear. If you really find, and if there's a question hovering in your minds, is pharmacology difficult? Lend me your ears for a while and let in the magic of knowledge. We all know about the structure of the brain. Well, it's something like a lobular structure and has a kind of a stalk on the one side. So there are many nuclei in the stalk lining from upside to the bottom. The first we have the medial raphe nucleus, then we have the N raphe portus, then we have the N raphe magnus, then we have N raphe pallidus, and then we have N raphe obscurus, and the stalk goes down. So, on the top there is a medial raphe nucleus. So this is all about the structure aspect. What we need to know about is that brainstem contains raphe nuclei, which is the whole sole synthesizer of serotonin in the body. Deep and extensive serotonergic projections, they are widespread thoroughly all over the brain. Now above the stalk, in the main structure or the lobe of the brain, all over the serotonergic projections, they are widespread. They are not only spread to the brain but also to the spinal cord. It would be greatly surprising to know that even 5-HT, that is serotonin, is synthesized on individual cellular level. Now, what is the function of this cellular serotonin? Well, its basic function is to serotonylate the intracellular protein, and that is how it affects the translation mechanism of these proteins. In the synapse, the presynaptic 5-HT receptors, that is autoreceptors, they modulate the negative feedback. The capital SERT, that is serotonin reuptake transporter, is responsible for the reuptake of serotonin in the synapse. And finally, that leads to the action termination of serotonin. Any guesses where and what does the reuptaken serotonin go and what does it do? Well, I'll give you two possible things that may happen to this reuptaken serotonin. Either it is repackaged into the vesicles or it undergoes metabolism. Now is the apt moment to kindle the talk all about serotonin receptors. Now, there are multiple 5-HT receptors which are identified and they make up the largest neurotransmitter family known so far. Of course, they are unique in their own kind, but many overlap regarding their signaling and functions. Now, what you need to know is that all are G protein coupled receptors except and only the 5-HT3 receptors, which is a ligand gated ion channel. Now, we will take the 5-HT receptors one by one. I'm going to tell about the members, the family, the signaling pathway, and their specific agents, their actions, and how they are useful. So first and foremost, we are going to talk about the 5-HT1 receptors. In the 5-HT1 receptor subfamily, there are 5 members mainly. The basic signaling is they inhibit the adenylyl cyclase and also the cyclic AMP storage in turn. In this we have 5-HT1A receptor, and we have 5-HT1B and 1D receptors. Well, 5-HT1A, 5-HT1B and 1D, they are autoreceptors, and you might be very well known with the triptan agents, that is sumatriptan, etc. They are the agonist of 5-HT1B, 1D, and they are very useful in the therapy of migraine. Then what are the other members of this subfamily? There are 5-HT1E, and we also have 5-HT1F. So that makes the 5 members complete. 5-HT1E and 5-HT1F, they are found in the brain. The 5-HT1A receptor agonist. And what is the name of this one and only agonist? Lasmiditan. Lasmiditan, that is the 5-HT1F receptor agonist. It is also approved for the therapy of migraine. Coming over to the 5-HT2 receptors, there are 3 members. The signaling pathway is via the phospholipase C diacylglycerol IP3 mechanism. The most abundant subtype is 5-HT2A. The antipsychotic agent, they inhibit the 5-HT2A, while the psychedelic agents, they activate the 5-HT2A. Now, next important thing we need to know is all about 5-HT2B. It is moderately distributed. While 5-HT2C, its main function is modulated by RNA editing. It controls the cerebrospinal fluid production, etc. Coming over to our next important subtype, and that is 5-HT3. The 5-HT3 receptors. Well, it's the only monoamine neurotransmitter receptors, which is ligand-gated ion channel receptors. Talking about the structure, what we need to know about these, the pentameric complexes they are formed. They contain 3 distinct subunits. Once the receptor is stimulated, the depolarization occurs and the gating of the cations also occurs. The main site of these receptors is in the gut, especially the vagal efferents, that is AFF, and the splanchnic efferents. In the brain, maximum serotonin receptors, they are found in the solitary tract nucleus, area prostrema, and the vomiting center. Well, when I talk about the vomiting center, then you should be knowing about some important drugs which are curbing down the vomiting. For your information, FDA has approved ondansetron. So, I'm sure you know the spelling. The ondansetron is the drug that is approved, which is a 5-HT3 receptor antagonist for curbing down the vomiting. And this is the explanation as I just have given you now. Coming over to the next subtypes, and that we have 5-HT4 receptors. Well, just like 5-HT1 receptors, the 5-HT4 receptors, they also activate adenylyl cyclase and cyclic AMP production. The superior and the inferior colliculi of hippocampus, they are the main hubs, that is the sites of 5-HT4 receptors in the brain. The myenteric plexus, the smooth muscle secretory cells, they are the main sites in the gut, that is the GIT. 5-HT4 receptors, they are definitely involved in the peristaltic mechanisms in the gut. You remember one drug, and that I should tell you, that is benzamide. Yes, so benzamide is the drug which is used in the gut disorders. It is so obvious as proved by just now given explanation. For your wonder, I would like to tell you that researchers in the animals, they show involvement of 5-HT4 receptors also in the memory and the feeding behavior, and they can be manipulated for human utility in the coming times. So, there are many potentials in 5-HT4 receptors. Coming over to the next receptors, we have 5-HT5 receptors. Now the agents, they are involved in inhibiting the adenylyl cyclase. In the human, there is only single, that is 5-HT5A receptor is found. The 5B receptor gene, it is non-functional in humans, but you should know that 5-HT5A and 5-HT5B, both the genes, they are found in rodents in the functional form. Talking about the sites, they are abundant in brain and they are involved in the mechanism of anxiety, circadian rhythm and cognition. Talking about the next important receptors, we have 5-HT6 receptors. They stimulate the adenylyl cyclase and increase the cyclic AMP production. They are abundantly found in the CNS. They are involved in the motor control and the cognition. It's very interesting and very unique thing to know about these, that they are component of the primary neuronal cilia. Now, when the cognition is involved, definitely as per the researchers, the 5-HT6 antagonists, they are quite potential to be used in the Alzheimer's disease treatment in the coming times. That is, they can be used for the treatment of dementia. Last but not least, let's talk about 5-HT7 receptors. They activate the adenylyl cyclase and increase the intracellular cyclic AMP production. Mainly they are found in the central nervous system, but they are also found in the periphery. They are involved in sleep, thermoregulation, cognition, smooth muscle relaxation and in the gut. And when they are found in so many places and they are involved in so many mechanisms, they are also potential agents. The researchers definitely show potential in the antagonism of 5-HT7 receptors to be the basis of the treatments like treatment agents like antipsychotics and antidepressants. You would be highly surprised to know that pseudogene of 5-HT7 is quite nicely expressed in the whole human body, but it is not translated in the functional receptors, so it is non-functional. Last but not the least, I'm gonna talk about the SERT, that is the serotonin reuptake transporter. It terminates the serotonin action by the reuptake mechanism. Structurally, it has 12 membrane spanning domains. It's a member of the neurotransmitter sodium symphotor family, which is abbreviated as capital NSS. It includes the transporters for dopamine, norepinephrine, GABA and glycine. From the nucleus raphe, you remember the diagram? That is on the top of the stalk of the brain. Serotonergic neurons, they arise, they form the capital SERT, that is serotonin reuptake transporter, and it is also found in the gut and the platelets. Now you might be knowing about the agents, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. These agents, they include fluoxetine, citalopram, sertraline, paroxetine, etc. They bind to SERT and they inhibit the reuptake of serotonin. That is the 5-HT reuptake. Other drugs that also can bind to SERT and inhibit the reuptake, they are the tricyclic antidepressants and the serotonin norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors, that is SNRIs. Drugs like venlafaxine, duloxetine, etc. They can also block the capital SERT. Hence, what do we need to derive or what do we infer from all these explanations and informations? That capital SSRIs and capital SNRIs, they are good choice of drugs for various CNS pathologies and conditions like major depressive disorders, obsessive compulsive disorders, panic, anxiety states, fibromyalgia and neuropathic pain, etc. etc. Tick tock, the clock goes on, hinting for the wrapping of today's episode on different serotonergic receptors. Not to get me wrong, we'll be back with details and descriptions and actions of serotonin all in all. Gapping of few days is all we want. Repetition, revision, reflection, mode on. For all the updates and latest episodes of my podcast, please visit www.ispharmacologydifficult.com, where you can also sign up for a free monthly e-newsletter of mine. That is a Pharmacology Further e-newsletter. You can follow me on different social media handles like Twitter, Insta, Facebook and LinkedIn. They all are with the same name as Pharmacology Difficult. If you're listening for the first time, do subscribe and follow whatever platform you are consuming this episode. Stay tuned. Do rate and review on iTunes, Apple Podcast. Stay safe, stay happy, stay enlightened. Thank you.